Asian women in general just have been largely objectified and sexualized and even fetishized throughout history. And this really, goes all the way back to colonialism, right? If the colonialism history is largely about white men, mostly, right, needing to conquer and exploit whatever resources they come across in this world, then I think two like very immediate things comes out as a result of colonialism. One is they need to eliminate any kind of threat, and two is they need to take advantage of what was easy to subdue. So when it comes to eliminating the threat, I think different communities have experienced that differently, right? So for Black Americans that have largely been a part of the history of slavery, we have seen examples after examples after examples of how Black men are demonized as monsters, right? Even like throughout slavery, throughout emancipation, throughout Jim Crow, throughout civil rights movement, there's oftentimes been this narrative of like, man, can you imagine leaving a helpless young white girl in the presence of these atrocious Black monsters? They're going to devour her. They're going to ravage her. Like there's this narrative that's been created to sort of instill fear in the Black man in order for white supremacy to sort of eliminate that threat, right? So how we as the Asian community have experienced that is that in eliminating the threat, Asian men have been emasculated largely by white supremacy. When you look at the media, when you look at movies, growing up, like, yep, I never see positive examples of Asian men in Hollywood representation, right? We are usually, at best, martial artists that have no emotions and do not form any kind of like romantic happy ending with the female protagonist. And at worst, we are the geeks, we are the nerds, we are the goofy, unathletic, sidekicks that are tripping in the background and knocking things over. We are the punchline, right? So that's how colonialism has sort of eliminated the threat of Asian men. But on the flip side, how colonialism has taken advantage of what was easy to subdue is that the cultural traits that make up kind of the traditional role of Asian women. And I'm not saying that is without its problems, right? I think all cultures have both beauty and brokenness as well. But whatever cultural traits that were associated with Asian women, being, subservient, being sort of like the supporting role in the home and all of that, being submissive even, all of those traits through the lens of colonialism have been sexualized, so that over time, Asian women became sort of this like exotic prize for white men to go after, to conquest, to seek after, and that transcends to generations later. We still experience this, right? So you can easily go on to I don't recommend anybody doing this because I don't want to trigger anybody, right? But you can easily go on a unfiltered internet like search engine and just type in the word Asian. Just Asian, not even women or men or whatever, just Asian. And much of the images that will come up are sexually explicit content, right? Like, how is it that the label of an entire ethnic group yields a Google search result that is almost explicitly sexual content, right? So, so this is the part of, this is one of the ways that Asian Americans experience racism. So when we are talking about the Atlanta case and talking about, is this sexual addiction, is this sex addiction, or is this racism? Is sex addiction or is it racism? They don't necessarily have to be filed into different categories, right? Very much so that sexism can be largely be a part that is embedded in the racism that we experience. So I think for the officials that have gone on camera to so like in the early stages of this case, like so like plainly able to just claim that, oh, this is what happened, doesn't seem to be that. It's not telling the whole story,
Mhm.
and it's not honoring the complexity that Asian Americans have had to experience and navigate through this life here in America.
Mhm.